The markets are moving here on Tuesday. Welcome to Top Trades. My name is Matt Inslee. I'm the publisher here at Paradigm Press. I'm joined by our chief analyst, master tactician, I think both, Greg Guenthner. Gunner, good morning, my friend.
Morning.
All right, so we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. We've got markets moving, like I said. Big question, right? Are we at the beginning of a crypto crash? We want to cover that. Semiconductors seem to be reversing. That's a huge trade. We got NVIDIA. They've got their conference this week. A lot of question marks there. Getting even bigger, we've got the FOMC meeting tomorrow where we're going to most likely get no change in rates, but we're going to get some press conference, which might give us the, I guess, sort of marching orders for the next few months of where the market's heading. And are we going to see a rate cut, or are we just going to see rates stay stubbornly high? Then we've got two sectors that are looking pretty decent. We've got gold and metals, which we want to cover, and energy. And Gunnar, I know you and the trading desk, you guys have a trade open in the energy sector. So energy is looking very good right now. Oil's looking good. And if we get a chance, we might jam. We've been talking about small caps. We'll jam that in there as well. So a lot of things to cover. Let's kick it off with the big item of the day. Crypto is, Bitcoin's down big. Crypto is crashing, and this is a market that has had those historic giant run-ups and giant pullbacks. Where do we sit right now? What are you seeing on your screen when it comes to the crypto crash, Gunnar?
Well, I think it's important to put crypto in context, as always. It's a wild trade. It's always going to be a wild trade, right? We should always be expecting volatility to rear its ugly head when it comes to buying Bitcoin or any of the other cryptos, really. And the smaller you go, the more volatile they're going to be, most likely. And I think what we're seeing right now is one of those volatility events creeping into the picture. And it's simply because crypto has gone so far, so fast. There has to be some sort of mean reversion along here. And if we zoom out in the chart, and you can see here real quick, Bitcoin down about 7% and some change, down to 62K. That's about a $10,000 hit from those all-time highs that it tagged just about a week ago. So pretty quick move lower right here, but that's par for the course for Bitcoin. If we go back and look, we can see even as far back as early 2023, when we really had that first sign that crypto was resurging along with the rest of the market right there, you had these big run-ups at the beginning of 2023, and I'll zoom in on this real quick so we can get a better look at it, see if I can get on in there. There we go. So at the beginning of 2023, we had this big run up from 16K. That feels cheap right now, doesn't it? All the way up to 25, and then all the way back down below 20. And that was a matter of 2 months, 3 months right there. And then from what looked like it was going to be a breakdown here below 20K, it runs all the way up to 30K. And that's just one simple time period right there. If we zoom out and we take out some of that noise, we can see that the trend was obviously higher and has been for some time, but you're going to get those hard resets in there. I don't think this is the time to start saying, okay, this is it for crypto. It's done. It might be done for a while. It might need to digest. It might need to reset. But I don't think that this is over by any stretch of the imagination. I think that folks are just a little bit ahead of themselves. On the past couple calls, Matt, we've been talking about how everybody's been zeroing in on $100,000 for Bitcoin. That's been the big number, obviously, because that's what happens. Things start moving in the direction you think they will. We started having this big rally here from 40K all the way up to 70, and then everybody's brains start turning to the big round number up ahead, and that's 100K, and we're starting to see those big predictions. One of the things I like to do, like to keep in the back of my head, not as a signal, but as a little bit of confirmation and maybe a little bit of a warning light as to what's going on. But when you start seeing very outrageous predictions start popping up after you've seen such a big run up in something like Bitcoin, that's probably the time where it's going to need to rest. Just the other week, I think it was last week, I saw a prediction that that Bitcoin was going to go to 350K or something like that by the end of the year. And I was like, that might be a little rich. Maybe we're getting a little too far ahead of ourselves. And we've hit one of those psychological peaks, and we're going to need time for it to reset and to sort of fall back into a range, shake out some of the weak hands, because that's what any market is going to do. And Bitcoin, although it moves faster and is a little more volatile than the stock market, it's the same type of beast. Its job is to trick us. Its job is to reach its hand into our pockets and to take our money. And so we just have to be aware that when we start feeling these extreme emotions, when we start feeling extremely greedy or extremely fearful, then something is in the works, and we should really tune in and listen to what the market is telling us rather than our emotions. And I think this might be one of those times where it just got too frothy. I mean, I've certainly been excited about crypto over the past few weeks. It's been going straight up. It's been fun to watch. It's always a fun market when things are going up every single day. But in the back of our heads, we just have to reconcile that, hey, it's not always going to be like this. There's going to be bear markets. There's going to be shakeouts. And I think this could be one of them. This could be a shorter term downtrend. This could be just a little shakeout. We're going to have to see where it lands. We're still so early in the pullback right here. Yes, it's been down for the past few days, and we're down about 10K from the highs, but really this hasn't been a lot of time, and we're just right back down to what? Right where it was at the beginning of the month. So we really haven't lost that much ground just yet. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a pretty high correlation breakdown too. We've seen it in Ethereum. It's kind of the same idea. Ethereum was a little bit more steady on the way up, but you can see here it's resetting back to where it was in late February. So yeah, I mean, I'd say we're still well within the realm of normal behavior for crypto right here.
Yeah, and we can still see we don't have a crystal ball. Like this could easily, I mean, if you bring the Bitcoin chart back up, it could easily do something where it goes a little sideways and then before the halving still hits 80K. You
Sure.
know, that's not out of the question either. So this is where you know, if you're placing your bets, you know, your guess is going to be as good as ours on something like crypto. It moves all different ways. It's
And when
volatile.
and I gotta ask fundamental matter question. When is the halving taking place?
It's crazy. Like again, you need someone smarter than me because
I
it
just want a
I think
date. When is it happening?
it's like April 22nd,
Oh, so
but
it's coming up pretty soon.
it's in between like April 19th and 22nd because it's a thing that's like happening like depending on how many coins have been mined. There's not like a it's not like an 8:30 on blah blah date. It halves. It's a piece of the algorithm or whatever. See, we've got 419 coming in there, but I've heard
Yeah,
it's a
our
little
friend
bit
Steve
later.
says 419. So
Yeah.
that makes sense to me. So that's it's right about here. So it's coming up. So I mean, yeah, maybe we can just expect some volatility while we're kind of waiting on this big event, and we try to figure out what it's going to really mean for the crypto space, because obviously price is king, and there's going to be a lot of people guessing, and I think that's going to contribute to volatility moving forward. So again, I don't think this is panic time by any stretch of the imagination. I think we've had a big crypto bear market recently, and that this is probably a shorter term downtrend or shorter term gut check, hard reset that we just have to be aware of.
Yep. And then I don't know if now's the time to segue, but obviously crypto has a lot to do with mining and then talking about semiconductors and NVIDIA chips, mining crypto and whatnot. The semis are feeling a little reset, I
Yeah,
believe.
and Matt, we've talked about this for a long time, but back during the most recent bear market in 2022, I tended to lump the hotter tech names or the formerly hot tech names, the tech growth stocks in with crypto because they kind of moved the same on the way down. Because I felt like it was the same kind of person buying into those, the same type of trader buying into those themes, those stories. And so we were kind of dealing
Yeah.
with the same animal right there. I think that's definitely the case. You can draw some lines between the semiconductor run up and what's happened in crypto. I think that while they haven't marched higher hand in hand, they certainly are related. And so I'm not really surprised to see a hot money trade like crypto start moving lower at the same time that a hot money trade like the semiconductors is resetting too. And again, I I think it would be silly to say that like this is the beginning of a crash. I don't think the C word is what we need to really dive into when we're talking about what's happening with semiconductors right now. But I think it's important to realize that, again, this was a trade that had gotten way, way, way too hot. And we talked a lot about this big bearish engulfing candle that appeared right here. Again, that was no guarantee that things were going to move lower, but I think it was definitely a sign that sentiment was shifting suddenly bearish, and folks are going to be looking to take profits. And I think that's what's happening here is you're going to start to see some profit taking. And I think some people are going to get scared out of these positions because it's been such an easy run higher. NVIDIA, I mean, we're talking about uh, the strength of a trend that I haven't seen in a very long time after this 500 breakout that happened way back in January. It feels like a lifetime ago. But this thing was marching straight up. We had a little bit of volatility before earnings when people were worried about what kind of numbers we would get, and then they decided they were great. up 16% the next day. We really didn't see any type of fear, any type of selling really hit this market until March 8th. That was 2 Fridays ago, that big bearish engulfing candle. And you can see how we have not been able to pierce new highs since then. If I bring up relative strength right here, you can see how RSI has been moving steadily lower as we've sort of chopped along in this range right here. I would say that if and when NVIDIA loses these levels right here, maybe the 850s right here, we could see a bigger reset, possibly down into the 730s. Maybe we just need to chop along and have a volatile sideways trend for a while, just to allow it to digest these gains. Because, I mean, like we said, this has been a massive run up. If we look at the performance of NVIDIA this year, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
12-month gains of 240%, 3-month gains of 75%. You're not going to see that every day in the
And it's
stock
a
market.
huge, this is a huge stock market cap wise.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
adding
huge.
trillions of dollars to the market right here. There's a ton of money that's just piled into this trade. And again, it's not because it's a bad reason. I think that the growth story is real here, and expectations just had to suddenly adjust way to the upside. And that's why we got this big move. But again, I think we've overshot to the upside here. And I think it would be silly to think that this could continue on like this forever. That's not how the market operates. Eventually, you're going to get some sort of retracements and pullbacks. And I think this could be the beginning of one of them. We're starting to see momentum bleed off here with RSI sneaking below 60. It would not surprise me to see this move significantly lower here. I don't think it's going to go back and just give up this whole thing. I don't think we're going to dip below 500 anytime soon, but I do think it's got to give back some of this move. It's got to make people nervous. It has to keep us honest. That's what the market does, right? It's got to keep us honest right here. It's been way too easy to close your eyes and buy in the semiconductor sector. And so I think that's going to change. And again, it all makes sense with our market roadmap too. We're in March. This is historically a pretty weak month for an election year. So it would not surprise me to see us kind of end the first quarter on a whimper after the year started with such a bang. That makes perfect sense to me. And then maybe we can start looking at potential rotation trades heading into Q2 and into the summer. It would be a perfect time to sort of reassess and see what the market is telling us and what's going to bubble up from below the surface there.
Yep. I mean, all eyes have been on these semis, and they're finally starting to roll over a little bit, which again, for a lot of the naysayers out there, this has been a waiting for this to happen a little bit, because again, for a company being this big and the whole sector just following it, and then it's still blowing out earnings, it needed a breather. So if we get a breather, maybe you get volatility on the downside. We'll see what happens. And then I don't know, I'll say this, and then Gunnar, you can go where you want on the call and whatever topics we want to hit next. But the other thing is, you get in sort of a tunnel vision. You're looking at crypto and you're looking at semis, and all of a sudden the FOMC meeting comes out of nowhere and clocks you with the haymaker.
Well, I think that might be why we're seeing a little bit of volatility right here too. And also, while you mentioned events, I think events kind of stick in people's minds too. And yesterday we had the big NVIDIA event and them announcing new chips. So that lines up perfectly with some selling pressure too, because you eventually get to the point in these trends where no good news is good enough. I talked about this a little bit in chat earlier, where you get to these points in the rally where it's like, hey, we're going to make $1 billion forever. Everything's perfect. And then everybody's like, oh, okay, I'm going to sell now. That's kind of how the market operates. And when you have a big NVIDIA event that it was all over CNBC, everybody was covering it, all these new chips. And I believe AMD took a hit immediately after hours or yesterday because of the news of all these new chips that were going to eat their lunch or whatever. So, we're starting to see the also rans, and I'm not trying to dog on AMD too badly, but it is, an also ran to NVIDIA, the all powerful, king of the semiconductors. But you can see here how it's already given back 100% of this big pop right here that it experienced on that breakout, which was a really nice breakout, by the way, that breakout above 180, which took it all the way up to above 220 before we got that retracement candle right there, that reversal. And then boom, we're all the way back down here, back into this range right there. So, I feel like these little resets are going to start popping up all over the market. And again, we're right in the wheelhouse for some nice little seasonal weakness right here. It makes perfect sense that we're seeing certain groups, energy, start to move higher and catch a bid right here and break out, while we're seeing the winners from earlier in Q1 really start to flatten out, to roll over. So that's how I'm seeing it shape up right now.
Yeah. All right. So where do you want to go from here? Do you want to talk rates? Do you want to talk FOMC and rates? Do you want to talk small caps? Do we want to look anything there, or do we want to go into gold, energy? We've got a question from Rosie too. She's looking at, can we go over biotech, so we can add that to the list as well?
Yeah, I think biotech really fits in well with the small cap discussion. But in order to set that up, I think we really have to talk about like market expectations heading into this week. So last week we had a situation where we started to see yields move higher. We started to see rates creep up. We start to see expectations for a rate cut in June begin to drop dramatically. And then by Monday morning, Fed Fund Futures said that there was less than a 50% chance of rates to be cut in June. And so I think that, compiled with the slightly hotter inflation data that we got last week, has kind of spooked some people. And now I believe the market is a little bit worried about Jerome getting on TV tomorrow for the Q&A and sounding more hawkish than the market expects. And I think that is starting to play out in price, and we're starting to see that across multiple sectors in the market. If we look at what's happened with small caps, remember, I was pretty stoked about this breakout here. And this is the Russell 2000 ETF, IWM. We saw a nice move higher heading into 2 Fridays ago, the 8th. And then this is also exactly the same spot that big reversal candle appeared in the semiconductors. We had the same thing appear in IWM. And instead of bouncing here at those former highs from late December around 205, it continued to drop late last week. And now we're starting to see that, and it's starting to play around here at this $200 level, which, while it's not perfect, going back here and looking at this, we have a situation where this could be kind of an ugly looking false breakout if this continues to move lower right here. And, you know, our expectations might need to shift as far as like IWM being a strong candidate for a catch-up trade heading into you know, July at the end of the first quarter. Because if you remember back in December, I said I think that, you know, small caps have ignited higher. They've been dogged all year. They did not keep up with the rest of the market in 2023. This would be a great opportunity for them to begin to catch up as maybe the S&P churned a little bit, as large caps you know, treaded water. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe these stocks get spanked because you know, the inflation expectations change and rate cut expectations change. And so we could be in the middle of something happening here. And I think that applies to biotech as well, because Rosie asked about that in chat. If we look at XBI, it's kind of the same look right here with these stocks, where we had what looked to be a pretty powerful breakout emerge back at the end of February, and it just hasn't been able to hang on in March. And we're seeing this reset. It could be nothing. This could just be you know, your run-of-the-mill like retest of these levels right here. And again, this line's by no means science. It's not perfect. And getting an alert. Right here. This might not be perfect right here, but at the same time, you can sort of gauge how this should be an area where support or resistance turns into support after such a big move higher. If it can't, then we have a situation and it drops below this line where we just have sellers taking back control of this market. And once you flip expectations that quickly, you can get a really fast move in the opposite direction, because everybody else was expecting these stocks to go up, 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 and then they abruptly reverse. So I think that's something worth keeping an eye on right there. You know, are higher rates really going to kill this potential rotation trade? I think it's possible. I think we're at some pretty important levels right here. And also, we have a situation where, guess who's creeping back into the picture here? It's Daddy Dollar. Big Daddy Dollar right here, bouncing, you know, not holding below 103, bouncing back toward 104 right here. Are we going to see a stronger dollar emerge right here heading into the Fed? That could be an issue too. So lots of stuff in flux heading into tomorrow's Fed, and I'm very interested to see how it all kind of plays out. It would not surprise me at all if we chop along. You see where the averages are, and we're just sort of we've been moving sideways all month basically. This is the Nasdaq 100. This is the
Yeah.
S&P right here.
Pull up the S&P because that's where I've got a question on that. Just me personally, when I think of it, if you're an armchair or 401k or someone that's a little bit outside the market, the good part is everyone here on Top Trades, I mean, we're looking in the weeds, trying to find all sorts of trades, sector rotation, all that stuff. That's way out of most of people's pay grade. They just sit there and they say, "Oh, my index fund is up.
Right.
It's been a great year."
Mhm.
However, that chart looks like it's starting to run out of steam. And then Gunnar, let me know if I'm wrong on this, but like when I see a chart like that, like if the S&P starts to actually break down a little bit out of that slow and steady uptrend, can't that spur its own level of like, negative, I mean, downside momentum at that point? Um, and then that starts leaking everywhere else. And again, that would come from rates being higher for longer and in a strong dollar. And we just start running out of steam. But once you run out of steam on that major index like an S&P, that could start getting a lot more headlines and getting more people that are those armchair people to go, oh, something bad is starting to happen. And then they start running for the hills.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. And I don't even think you need news events for that to happen. I think that's just the normal ebb and flow of the market, where you have a situation like with the S&P that, again, there have been some down days, but ever since we got that big reversal in late October and early November, and that big disbelief rally that morphed into this huge melt up that we've experienced, I mean, it's been a while. We've had November, December, January, February. We've had more than 4 months here of very, very steady sailing with very little volatility bothering
Yeah.
me. And convince, and so anybody who has been, chirping about, oh, I don't know about this, they've been chicken little this whole time because the market has gone up, up, up. If we do see it begin to roll over here, and we already see momentum waning here, as you can see, we hit these big overbought levels in December, and the market's been, or the S&P has been pushing higher while RSI has been diverging. This could be a situation where we just kind of round off and begin to leak lower, and then folks start getting concerned, and you get one of those kind of gut check moments in the market. That wouldn't surprise me at all. That's how these little corrections kind of develop. And again, people forget these things because we get lulled to sleep by how the market is right now. And we forget the fact that it's always changing and it's always going to be different. We're like, okay, this thing works in the market. This is what you do. And then as soon as everybody decides that that's the thing that works and that's what happens, then it changes. And it puts everybody through a loop.
All right.
Everybody,
Now I don't want to tell you, well, all right, you're going to go somewhere too. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I kind of want to tell you what to do. It's like, I don't want to put lines on that chart, but where would you start saying, uh-oh, this little slow and steady uptrend in the S&P is no mas? Like, where would that be? Because it doesn't seem like we're there yet.
no, I don't
Maybe
think we're
we
there. I
are.
don't think we're there yet. I think it depends on how all this shakes out. I mean, I think everybody's going to be, you know, watching this gap right here, above 5K. And maybe if we fill that gap, I mean, I think we could correct in a couple different ways here. Obviously, I think we could get like a big whoosh lower that scares people, and then we pick right back up, or I think we could just start chopping people to bits with a sideways move. I think that would probably be pretty maddening, right there. So, I mean, there's different ways the market can correct right here. I think the important thing to remember is the fact that it is going to correct eventually, and it's going to correct probably 5, 6, 7%, and it's really going to scare people. And as it happens, everybody's going to freak out and say, like, oh my God, like this is the end of the world. This is the big crash everybody's been waiting for, and so we need to really we need to get ahead of those emotions, is what I'm
And so
saying.
that would be something like you're thinking like 200 or 300 points on the
Yeah.
S&P or SPX there. So like you're talking, it
Which
could go.
which would be perfectly normal, by
Yeah.
the way. Like that happens a few times a year. I mean, going back to just last year, we had a nice resurging bull market in 2023, and the S&P was down between the end of July and the end of October. Pretty
Yeah.
steady downtrend right there with a nice big chunk taken out of it. That's just that's how the market goes. And look how tight we are right here, compared to some of these moves higher, where there was a little bit more of a gut check here in the end of the first half right here, heading into July, in 2023. So it makes me feel like, okay, we're in a situation now where a little downside is probably overdue. Maybe we need to scare some folks. Maybe we need a big whoosh lower, not necessarily like Bitcoin level craziness, but at the same time, like, let's not get carried away with the correction right here. Let's use it to our advantage and start thinking about where that money might be moving next. Yes, we could have a situation where everybody starts selling. We have like a high correlation, like pullback type of move, and nothing wins. That's entirely possible. But we could have a situation where, which I think is developing right now, where we're starting to see certain things break out and move higher, oil, energy, while the rest of the market is on the struggle bus a little bit. And I really want to pay attention to the stuff that's working right now on the long side. And I think energy is going to be that next spot. We've been talking about it for a while. We have a new energy trade on over at the trade desk. It just feels like this is the time for people to start taking note of energy again. And I don't think it's really made it onto you can see the TV better than I can from back here, but it doesn't seem like it's made it onto CNBC yet. That a lot of people are talking about energy. Everybody's talking about Bitcoin. Everybody's talking about semiconductors. No
They
one's
started
talking
chirping about copper, but they have not been on energy big. It doesn't.
nobody's on it because it's been so disappointing, and it was a choppy mess for the past couple years. But now look at how it's curling back toward these highs right here. I said that I was on the record with you, Matt, saying that if oil holds above 80, that people are going to start to notice again. And we're holding above 80 and we're pushing higher. We're at 82.72 right now for WTI. It feels like go time to me, and that we're going to get overbought right here, and we're going to start really, really rolling, overbought in a good way. And people are going to start piling into this trade right here. And XLE is looking pretty juicy. We're starting to see some of these oil companies look really good. These list of energy stocks that I've been making, you start looking at these names and you start seeing these bigger moves. Look at all these green candles stacking up. This is Marathon, MRO, right here. It hasn't had a down day since March 5th. Just pushing higher right there. Our trade is in rig. We have more of a speculative trade on right now in Transocean, ticker rig, because I think this thing could easily break here and shoot above $6 and maybe get as high as like the 650s, before it really slows down.
What if we do? I'll ping the group. The other thing, I think we've got some more people on here. I will say, I think I looked at our email announcements that went out. Everyone that was on the trade desk that's in your paid publication got the link. The link that we have for this Zoom stays the same every week. So if for some reason you don't get the announcement or something, I think the announcement went out. It didn't have a link in it. So I think we resent it out. Hopefully everyone that's popping on now, you guys are in there. The good part is we'll have the replay of this out as soon as we can get it. But why don't we do a little bit of participation here, Gunnar, if you want. I'm kind of doing it selfishly because I love the energy market. I love the oil market, but I don't have my favorite tickers anymore because a lot of them have gotten swallowed up by, Chevron buys Noble, Exxon buys Pioneer, like all the little guys that I like that were good traders. I'm kind of missing them. So we've got one ticker from Scott S. He's saying, can you look at PSX? But does anyone else have an oil or gas trade that they like? That might be their sleeper, the one that they like trading, because it might just give us some eye candy here to say like, okay, and Gunnar, you can give a 2 cents on what you see here, but PSX looks good. And that one's we're talking refiner, right?
Yeah. This is Phillips 66 PSX, and it looks pretty hot. I mean, like, obviously, like, look, this one's been an early mover, and a lot of these have been. I think the bigger names look really good right now. I mean, I'm more option centric in my trading. So like I'm looking at the stuff that's very optionable. Obviously, I think Oxy looks really good. I think somebody typed that in.
Yep.
Nice snapback here. This is Buffett's play.
Yeah, you want to be with Warren Buffett. There you
He's
go.
been buying for years now. I really like, for very speculative short-term snaps, I like rig just because it's a big mover. It can produce those big 10, 15% candles in a day. EOG is one that keeps popping up on my screen right here. It's a little bit bigger, but it's starting to get overbought, and again, that's a good thing. And it's bumping its head up against these levels. Like I think 125 break sends it. CVX.
But there's EQT, yeah,
Mhm.
CVX. Again, those are the bigger ones. Like that's not when I think of it, like I don't they're good long-term buy and hold dividend type things, but I don't really want to be in CVX for a trader or Exxon for a trader.
Sure, no,
Uh,
I get you.
yeah.
Um,
EQT looked different. I think that's nat gas, a little bit more nat gas.
well, it's an E&P, it says, yeah. I'm just looking for the sector here on Finviz. Yeah, this one's on the struggle bus right here. Um, I wonder what's going on with it.
Another one that I saw in there was Devon, DVN.
I know that one. That's an old school one, right?
Yep. Yeah. So a lot of
Um,
the littler ones look very
that looks
similar.
real. I see. I really like this one. And again, like you can see the changing character in these stocks. I think this is the really perfect chart to sort of point this out. Look at this sloppy uh downtrend right here, where you have these these relief rallies punctuated by these nasty moves lower, and then big rips higher, and then like very difficult, I would say almost untradeable moves, you know, in some of these names. And now look at how the character has changed since it bottomed out here. You got
Yeah.
a double bottom near 40, and then it's pushed up toward 48. It's broken above these pivot highs from early January right there. It feels to me like, and again, this is just excuse me. It's just me drawing some lines right here, but it feels like, this is the last leg of some sort of downtrend right here that it's breaking above, and it's starting to move higher out of it.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
then Porcher said EQT and Devon are natural gas, which again, Devon looks good. EQT, there's probably some story there that we can't tell, like they're selling shares or one of their deposits ran out of nat gas or something happened. They're just mismanaged. I don't know. But
yeah, but
for them to
CHP,
look that bad comparatively, it's not good.
yeah. And then Steve-O is SPH. Um, wow. Yeah, this is
That's
an interesting
propane.
one. Is this a little guy right here? Propane? Yeah, I like, this is obviously a more wild trader right here, with these big spikes. But at the same time, obviously there was some sort of catalyst back here, um, in late September, and it's really starting to blast off from those levels right there. And you can see these changes of character throughout this energy sector right here. So I think a lot of these are worth paying attention to. You can grab your you can grab your lotto plays, LPG. Um, is this another liquid propane? Is that what this
Yeah,
is?
that's probably yeah. It might be something that's propane or sorry maybe exports. Yeah, LPG. I would assume that's.
There's
I'm
a
not
variety of
familiar
different
with
grips these charts
Dorian.
are giving us too. Notice how this one looks a lot. Oh, this is nat gas, says Fred. Notice how this one's a lot different than the other one we just looked at. A lot of different looking charts. I kind of like that. I like it when like you have like different names that are moving. They're not all moving the same. You know what I mean? You have a situation where look at VLO. I mean, this is a pretty big name, but I
Yeah,
mean, you can see this thing spiking. When was the last time it was at these levels right here? Got to go way back.
I mean refiners have just been
Yeah.
lights out since 2020, and you went through that whole time where it was like there's going to be a diesel shortage. Like refiners have just been sitting in the money
Well,
spot.
there we go. I mean, yeah, this is cracked right here. It's your refiners ETF, and it's above those October 18 highs right there. I mean, rolling.
If
I'm
this was
just
a happy hour, now it's morning time, we're drinking coffee, but if this was a happy hour, every time we have someone that creates a good ticker for an ETF, you take a drink because crack is that's a great ticker
yep,
for a refiner ETF. Kudos,
yep,
Wall
yep.
Street.
I love a good ticker, and this is definitely a good one. But you can see the strength. It's pretty obvious. We
Yeah,
have
MPC's another. I mean, that's the marathon refiner.
marathon, yeah, and again, you can see like just going parabolic or going ballistic right here. They might need some time to chill out. Maybe not the best entry for these, but like you can't deny the strength. And again, we got oil here, um, breaking out, as far as I'm concerned. So I think it's difficult to ignore, and especially on a day like today, when the market's getting a little bit wonky, right? And you have a situation where everybody's eyeballs are on people selling semiconductors and what's happening with Bitcoin and crypto and all this stuff. And then you have energy just sort of doing its thing off here to the side. I mean, I like trades like that where people aren't sort of hip to the tip yet, man. They're not in it.
Yeah.
So let's see how far this thing can run, and let's see if we can get some more trades on the books. Again, I really like our rig play that we have. It's definitely more speculative, but we're looking for stuff that can give us those big gains in a short time frame. So
And some of the big movers, again, we're going to have to start getting into election concepts and trades and whatever. But some of the big movers that you're seeing there, refiners, if you think of what they do, they take U.S. oil. We're the world's biggest producer of oil, and it just gets shipped or piped down to the refiners. And the refiners are the ones that can turn it into gasoline and diesel. And guess what that can do? That can get shipped over to Europe, where they don't have anything, and they're normally dependent on, Russia or Middle East or whatever. So they've got, again, that might be some of the speculation in those things too. Because say you get Trump in, he wins and he plays hardball somewhere in the world, right? Like maybe I don't know. You've got a lot of reason to say like it could be very valuable to be able to ship diesel, gas, products like that, including LNG, around the world. So maybe that's why they're getting a little bit more bid than some of the
we
other
need
ones.
we need a good emoji for our chart here, Matt, since you like these emojis so much.
Yeah, let the record state, I now have a Trading View paid subscription, and my friend Gunner didn't even know that you could put emojis onto charts,
No,
which is
I'm
really
aware of it. I just didn't know you'd be so
that's
excited about putting an emoji on a chart. So we got to
it's
think
like
of a good emoji.
we invented the wheel, we invented sliced bread, and Trading View has emojis. That's three major steps for mankind.
Here, we'll just
If you
do
don't like, if you guys, there's a free version of TradingView. It's cool. I mean, it's a nice platform. I wanted to get one so I could compete. I probably don't have the high level like Gunner has, but it's nice, and you can it keeps your lines, and it keeps the drawings and stuff that you have in there. So if you come back to something that you had looked at 2 weeks before, you can go, oh yeah, I remember this. We're looking at that level. It's there. Maybe you take action on it, whatever you like. Um, so all right, where did you want to go? Is there anywhere else in energy you want to look, or do you want to look into gold, or we could just open up if there's any Q&A.
I think we should look at gold because I am bullish gold, and we are hitting a little bit of a patch here because we have that resurgent dollar. Um, in the grand scheme of
Like,
things, this isn't so bad.
yeah, that's a
I mean,
U.S. flag.
yeah, look at this. Look at this big run up right here. I mean, yeah, it's getting a little long in the tooth for a flag right here, but I mean, I'm not upset at all
Dude,
about
look
it.
exactly where it's at. Look at that Sunday, this Sunday at 21:45 or whatever.
Yeah,
Was it, it just sat right
that's the
there.
crazy Sunday. That yeah, I mean, like we're right back down to the peak of that crazy Sunday. It's funny too because like, and again, it's it's all eyes on gold right here, and then no eyes on gold over here. It feels like nobody's watching it, which is funny. How people lose interest so quickly. I mean, obviously this is a huge spike. But I like where we're headed. We do have a bullish play on GDX right now, and it is rolling a little bit right here. But I mean, it's acting more like silver. Uh, we can see like silver was down a little bit more earlier today, and it's moving higher. I still like this. I think we're gonna get some bumps along the way, obviously, and the dollar's not really helping. But as long as we're above like these swing highs right here, around 29 bucks, that's okay. I'd really like to get moving sooner rather than later. But I like the idea of gold miners surging back higher. I like that gold's still above 2150, despite sort of letting the air out of the tire right here. So I feel good about this trade. And again, I think this is the same thing that's happening with energy. I feel like there's so much other stuff going on in the market right now that no one else is watching this, and that we're getting into an environment where miners can really rip, where silver can play catch up, where we can start looking at other metals. We've talked a lot about copper, and copper, huge move above $4. It's retracing today. It's down 1% and some change. I'm not that worried about it. $4 is the level for this big boy right here, and we can see how copper has been just in this huge consolidation, this huge sloppy consolidation ever since this big meltdown, really, back in 2022, and it feels like it's going to get moving in the right direction again. Again, just to give us some ideas right here, we have like a pretty obvious downtrend right here it's been attempting to break out of it and now bouncing off of that area right there. If that's where you want to draw your line, that's subjective, but at the same time, I feel like that's the kind of the right feeling for this market right here, where we have this downtrend and it's been slowly fighting it, and now it feels like we're breaking above these pivot highs right here back from August, and we're really going to start going in the right direction. We're getting so close to 52-week highs for this thing. It just needs a little shove. I've been looking at potential trades in something like FCX. This chart is way too long. I need to narrow this down right here. I was mad that I didn't grab it earlier back in here, and now I'm just sort of waiting for this to shake out and see how we bounce once we kind of retest this like 43 level right here. But yeah, love the looks of this. And I think that like throughout the metal space, we're going to start seeing some really good trades. Steel is already looking really good. STLD, you see this chart. I can't type. Let's try that again. I mean, look at that. That's really pretty. And then Nucor, another steel stock, trailing a little bit, but still really strong trend right there, looking good. Rosie's asking about biotech, and I looked at biotech. I looked at XBI right here. I think biotech. Just to recap, you know, if it can't bounce after retracing down here to this $90 level, I think it's in trouble. It really needs to bounce here because we had this big breakout at the end of February, and it's been letting the air out ever since then. And it needs to prove that it can hold this level and move higher. I think this is really dependent upon like how things look from the Fed, you know, because these trades are getting crushed over the past week and a half as expectations have adjusted. Let's just say. So let's see what Big J Powell says tomorrow and see how this reacts.
If you want to bring up a ticker for me, hit in SMR. That one is again, I believe it was a SPAC. It's obviously it's in the nuclear space. There, SMR, small modular reactors. So in our business, right, we're a publisher. We're publishing ideas. We've got promotions. We don't have anything heavy duty on this sector, but I mean, it caught fire earlier on, and you're starting to get a little bit more buy-in that like these small modular reactors could actually be a decent piece of the energy grid. And if that happens, a company like this is the darling stock, not we probably know about around here and the folks on the call as traders, because we'll see things like this moving, but this could be one that starts getting a little bit more mainstream press because like we're probably not going to build a giant new nuclear reactor in the US. But if you want to support all of this stuff, EVs, AI, crypto mining, all this stuff, and you don't want to burn coal and natural gas, you need some way to power it. And these are these smaller units that can be, you know, put anywhere in the US and they don't have the ability to melt down. I'm not up on the science, but it's an interesting chart.
Yeah, I mean, it's come out of nowhere, it feels like. And you said this is a SPAC?
I think so. If you go back, it gets to $10.
Yep. Yeah, you can see the
The
spackiness of
indicative
it.
spec pattern.
Yeah,
Normally they go from there to like 50 cents
right.
and they
It's
never
definitely
come back.
it's definitely interesting. You know, it's only down 30% today. Is that good?
That's why it was on my radar for today. Cause like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And you look back, you're like, man, this thing's had a nice month or two.
Oh yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's gone from 250 to $10, and now it's down to 6.99. I mean, definitely a wild mover for sure.
But that's one of those ones, like if I were just to start, we'd have to have, we could maybe have more conversations about this, get a lot more smarter people and get a bunch of guesses and start whittling stuff down. But if you start saying, hey, Trump's going to win, and then what would happen and how do we get more energy? I think he's pretty pro-nuclear. And then maybe SMRs start to happen a little bit more and we shove forward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not really sure. You know, like sometimes these stocks are so small and so volatile. Like you see a chart like this, and on the surface, you're like, okay, this thing is moving higher. And then you zoom in and you realize, oh man, this is a 30% down day right here.
Yeah.
After a 30% up day. That's a wild stock where you could get stuck in a bad spot buying and selling.
Yeah. Yeah, buyer beware. All right, there's a bunch more tickers in here that we're doing. Steve-O's got GoDaddy GDDY.
Yeah.
GDDY. We'll throw that one in. And then I think before Janice said ZK and Intel.
Yeah. GoDaddy is one of those stocks that like has just been sort of popping up a lot lately because the trend has been looking pretty decent. I don't know why. It's a company with such a silly name. And it's kind of a known entity, and yet it's been just exploding higher here. Maybe does somebody know something? Is it going to get bought? Like, you know, GoDaddy, you know, everybody knows it's
Did
it's
they
what.
finally, like, that was an earnings pop? Did they finally say, like, we figured out how to make money?
Yeah, on
And
domains, I guess. It's just it's very interesting to me. But like, yeah, I mean, this was a huge post earnings drifter, and it's still going. So it's kind of bizarre. Um, but yeah, I mean, like it definitely the chart looks good, and it's made it from this earnings to this earnings, and it's survived what any news. Yeah, nobody knows what everybody say. Hey, what's going on here? Can it keep going higher?
yeah,
Maybe. Yeah.
I bet
So
what happened is they went from like a mainstream, like, go buy your URL here. I think they do a lot of services for
yeah,
websites. So it's like maybe they start competing with an AWS and you get a little piece of this market.
yeah.
Uh, it's
Yeah,
probably something
yeah.
like
I
that.
mean, I'm vaguely aware of what they do. It's interesting, but like it's just surprising to me that like the stock has done so well. But yeah, it is doing well. You can't deny the chart. Can't deny price right there. And then we have
I think was it ZK? What was the one?
hold on,
ZK and then Intel.
well, Adobe had a negative earnings reaction here, and it's trying to fill that earnings gap, but the chart, uh, I mean, like, I like the fact that it caught here because this $500 level right here feels relatively significant, I would say. Like if it can hang on, um, maybe that's something, but this chart's kind of a mess. So I look at something like this and I'm like, I don't want to trade it. Um, LAAC, what is that? Oh, lithium. Yeah, lithium's been a tough one lately because we had that huge lithium bull market and there
Yeah.
weren't a lot of ways to play it. Um, and I believe there was a fund um, that somebody made, and it's gone down ever since, hasn't it? Hadn't lithium had like a rough 18 months? I mean, I'm looking
Yeah.
at this chart here. I think I think we could say that it's possible that we have a situation where uh, the electric car, uh, the EV hate is growing, and maybe that's like taking.
No, that's a tainted way to say it. Why don't you say it the realistic way? The thing that they were shoving on us that no one wanted, it's finally coming to reality that nobody wants them. So then,
Right.
like, the
Yeah.
pipe,
Yeah.
the
Demand.
bubble has
Yeah.
let the air out.
Yeah. Demand has not been where a lot of people thought it would be, um, right now, and so I think we're seeing that sort of play out in the lithium market, perhaps. Um,
All
let's
right,
see.
what's ZK? I've been saying that when I know
ZK.
ZK. We're gonna find out. Nope. All
ZK
right. That was must have been a typo.
is a
Intel.
ghost.
What about Intel? INTL. No, that's not even Intel. That's INTC is Intel. All right. I'm reading tickers here. I shouldn't have done it.
INTC is Intel. Is that what we're
Yeah.
doing?
No, I mean, I
Not looking
thought,
great.
you
Looking like
know,
it's losing. Looking like it's losing this level right here. So I mean, and look, this is an old line we had on here where I was probably talking about how it was like, yeah, it looks like it's breaking on this flag and moving higher, and then we get this big gap down on earnings. So earnings interrupted that, and it hasn't really been able to get its legs ever since then. Man, I'm getting
all
all
right,
kinds of
Janice is back. ZKIN.
okay. This is I do not know what this is. It's a 64-cent stock. Give me a
All right, that makes more sense. ZK International. ZKINTL. All right. We have no idea what this is, but there it is. Kind of looks like an EKG.
now I gotta hold on. See if we get any. Oh, it's a Chinese steel company. Okay. Well, not looking
Oof.
great. China and steel. I would say not bullish. Things in China have been very interesting lately. And look at how the market's kind of coming back today. It's like like the our leaders are laggards right here. We got comm services and semiconductors holding everything else back. That's fascinating. Um, yeah, like China has not been looking good. FXI has been trying to turn around, and this is China large cap. So obviously we're kind of off of the the steel penny stocks here, but it's been trying to turn around here, but we haven't seen any extension off of it yet. Very sluggish looking. So I don't know. I mean, maybe China can juke their data a little more and get this market rolling again. JD, that's another Chinese name, I believe. It's trying. I would say wait for this thing to get above $30 to, before I get interested. Earnings were obviously better than expected, or at least they got a positive reaction on it. People. It was up 16%. Numbers were decent. So we'll see if it can turn it around. But the further back you go, you realize it's like, okay, this was $100 plus stock back at the start of 2021, and it's down to $27. So it's not had a good run. And it's going to need to. It's going to see stocks that are in longer term downtrends. They got to show me something. I want to buy them at higher prices. I don't want to try to pick the bottom because you can always go lower. Strong support's always at 0.
It's true, except for oil in 2020. Broke that support line.
Yeah, so there we go.
All right, here we go. Gunner. And if you guys don't know at home, me and Gunner have worked together for 18 years. So I like to throw him curveballs live on the call and see what happens. This is a very interesting week. We have a bunch of crazy stuff going on. We got the FOMC meeting tomorrow. So who knows what's going to happen. But we know what's going to happen next Tuesday. We're going to have a top trades call. If you have to make one trade up or down over this week, not tied to the trading desk. The trading desk is a professional, well-run system. Now this, we're just amongst friends, and we are looking for a week-over-week trade. Is there anything that you would go into? And again, you can just do generals. You could say, hey, downside on this, upside on that, whatever.
You want me to basically give you
a 1 week YOLO, 1 week YOLO trade.
1 week YOLO. Oh.
That's just like, I want to see where your gut is at for what could happen in this week. Like, does the rollover continue?
Yeah, maybe like
your chart that's just sort of broken out that you're like, I just like it.
What about
I want to go upside oil.
What about puts on the Qs or something? How about that? Do you like that?
All right. That's the trade then. So we'll come back. We'll check on that next week. Puts on the Qs. You could just find there's probably like a triple short Q. Then that's where I'd get my YOLO from.
What is it? Is SQQQ the downside? Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
There you go. It's at 1120. Write it down.
So that if QQQ goes down, this chart would go up. Got it. Yeah. All right, man. Manny, I'll give you the last words here. We'll wrap it up, and then we'll be back next week after we see some fireworks for the rest of the week here. We see what unfolds. What else does anyone need to know here?
I'm going to do PLTR real quick. Somebody asked about it. This is another one of those trades that I think is kind of been sucked in by the current Fed meeting and inflation jitters. Right here, we have a situation where it looked like it was breaking out, and now it's retraced fully back down toward that 2340, 2350 mark. Looks like a choppy mess. It's maintaining up here. That's fine, but shorter term, I need to see a bounce or something right here, and I think it's just kind of caught. It's caught digesting this big move, and it's caught in kind of these changing expectations in the market right now. So, those are my thoughts on that. And someone else is asking about Apple. Apple's one of those stocks where, like, I feel like, it's filled the gap right there. But Apple's been very weak lately, and it really needs to show us something. Right here, Kava.
Oh, that's lunchtime, dude.
Mediterranean Chipotle. I ate that yesterday. Looks good. Looks good. The stock. I mean, like, I'm not really that impressed with Kava as like a food option. It's okay. It's fine.
It's not. It's no CMG.
It's no CMG. Food. I mean, the stock looks great. Got to hand it to him. I mean, like, recent IPO was got caught up in the bear market. Bottomed out in October. It is ripped, and it's near its highs. It looks good. Good looking stock. So that's what I got.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Again, if you're one of the people that joined us a little bit late and the email came out with the link a little bit late, I apologize for that. We'll get you the right link next week on time. The other thing is you can bookmark that link. It's the same one week over week. And if you're watching the replay and we've got it on our YouTube channel or internally, and you want to post comments or write in emails with questions, we'll be able to cover them next week. So we appreciate your time. And we'll see you next week on Top Trades. See you, Gunner.
See you.
Thank y'all.